Róisín joins me now. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Nessy. How are you? I'm good. I'm good.
Do you know
Thanks.
what? It has been, I don't know how long I have wanted to get you on the show because there's so many things I wanted to chat to you about and talk to you about. And now is a fantastic opportunity because you have just released this track, Daylight. Tell me
Mhm.
a little bit about Daylight.
Daylight is probably my first tune into let's say like the commercial kind of house um beats vibe that I'm now experimenting with.
It works. It works.
It works. Oh, great, thanks. Yeah, I think it's great. I really love it. It was made with a Moroccan producer, Yassine, who is actually an old friend of mine from when we used to go to school together in Morocco, many years ago when I went to school in Morocco. But me and like I moved over to London and discovered that Yassine was now living in London. So we ended up just meeting up and like doing what we used to do back in the day when we were in school, when we didn't know what, like, we just wanted to play music. So, but we did it many years later in a real recording studio in London. And Daylight is one of the tunes that we made. Um, he's super talented, Yassine. Like, he's like jazz music would be his forte, but he's doing like really incredible things in kind of the house world where like a lot of his music is like jazzy but house tracks. So I thought it was only right to kind of release it together. But yeah, it's nice, like it's like a full circle kind of story.
It's a really nice story about it because there is a really good vibe about it.
Mm,
And when it when you have a song, when you have a track that comes from a really good place, I think you're you're always going to get that anyway. Just if that makes
amazing.
sense.
You can
Because
feel it.
you can just feel it. If you're having a good time when you're making something, you're gonna feel it. It's like that good those good vibes ooze from you and come out through the speakers or whatever because it's yeah, the production on it, the way it was mastered, everything is just like mwah.
Mwah. This is the nicest thing to hear. Like Yassine's gonna love this. I have to say I'm really lucky. Like I've like the music I've made in the past is kind of very emo, sad girl vibes and indie, and like I love that genre. But I was looking like I wouldn't say that I would be a singer or a songwriter that kind of goes for one genre because I just kind of like songs in any genre that I can, sing to or like have a melody. And so I was really kind of like taken aback at the stuff that we created. And a lot of it has to do with Yassine and his musical influences, like kind of brought me away from the minor chords and into a more like let's be happy. And like it's great. Like
It's really interesting, I think, as well, because the first thing that I thought of was the sounds within Daylight. Do they come from your own background? Because you're half Palestinian.
mhm.
And um I know this is an arts and culture show, so I can't get political, but I know that one way of showing support is always to have these just to have that vibe about it. And there are sounds in there that are definitely Middle Eastern, that are from that they're not purely European. That's the
Yeah.
best way I can describe them. I don't know all the instruments that you used or the sounds that you used in there, but you
Mm.
definitely know the part of the world that it comes from.
Yeah, I mean, definitely if you ever hear the tabla, and the tabla is the like it's in all kind of Arabic music. It's like that really kind of sometimes grating, annoying drum, which is the like that just gets every single Middle Eastern Arabic person up to dance. Most of the time, it's just a beat, but for some reason, that is just the sound that immediately they stop thinking and they start moving. So it was kind of good to like bring that in. When we kind of grew up in Morocco, a lot of the music that we would have listened to would have been house music because the club culture there is a bit like Ibiza, and it's all kind of, it was just that vibe of club culture and like staying up in the morning. Like the clubs didn't close until like 6 or 7 in the morning. So we kind of like grew up with house music, definitely back in the day, which I kind of forgot about when I moved to Ireland and just kind of tried to make a new life. But I was kind of delighted that we kind of brought in like very kind of Arabic sounding sounds, and like it's all fun just mixing. That's why I don't think I really believe in genres per se, unless like you follow the exact chord structure or you only use one instrument and it can't be anything else. I do feel like the melange of genres and like kind of the fusion of like trying to make a house track. We didn't even try to make a house track. Like Yasin just kind of made the track, and then we added things that we liked to hear, and I wrote words to like I made up a melody and then just wrote kind of the first thing that came to my mind, with the view that like I might like change it later, but sure, never changed it. And those were the words I wrote in the first kind of session, and it worked. Like it was just easy.
You mentioned there that, there's like this Ibiza vibe from it, but what an awful lot of people tend to forget, and I will be honest, I'll hold my hands up here as well, and I'll say that I never realized until I was recently watching a YouTube video, and it was about a guy called Freddie Dobbs. Freddie is he's Irish. He's half English, half Irish. He has his Irish passport. He has a motorbike channel. I watch the strangest things on YouTube. And he has a motorbike channel, and he was traveling on a bike from Norwich or somewhere, and he was traveling all down Europe, and he was going to cross over. And what people don't realize, and I was totally shocked, that like it's only something like 6 or 8 miles between Spain and Morocco. So it's
Yeah, it's
so
nothing
so
like.
close. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy.
like Morocco is North Africa, and like Spain is like literally there. And where we used to, like, we lived in Tangier, which is the seaside town where you get all the boats to like Tarifa and Algeciras. And that was kind of normal. Like anytime there was a 2 weeks kind of midterm break or whatever, like me and the fam would like just take a boat to Spain. So like ended up like we'd always go to Spain for our holidays because it was just there, and it was like, let's get out of Morocco for a wee bit. So there is like, especially Tangier, which is like, it has loads of influences. Like a lot of people speak Spanish in Tangier. It's, I would think, out of all of the cities that I've been to in Morocco, it's probably the most chaotic, because everybody was there and everybody has a place there. Like, and it's kind of smallish that you can kind of get the gist of it. But basically loads of influences were in Tangier. From like Spanish music was just normal to hear, French, then of course the Morocco with like Arabic music, Berber music. So in a kind of way it makes sense that we like, I definitely think that like myself and Yasin would have like an idea. I don't know if I'm saying this right, but definitely because of all the fusion, it was kind of normal to hear bits of every little bit. Do you know what I mean? Like there wasn't one thing that, to excuse the word, normal, because there's just our idea of like what was normal in Tangier probably would have been absolute chaos in somewhere else. So yeah.
So if I may ask you as well, then I suppose it's one of the reasons I asked this question is I'm living outside Ireland for like 10 years now at this stage. But this is the second time that I've lived outside Ireland. First time I moved to London and I absolutely hated it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I moved back. The next time I needed a job and I came over to London, and I've been here since. And during that time I've met so many people, and it's really good because London is such a melting pot of all different cultures, and you get Irish people and people who identify as Irish through their parents or grandparents,
Mm-hmm.
and you get all these different mix of different cultures, And as I always say, there's a million different ways, or there's as many ways to be Irish as there are Irish people. But what was the mixture of the cultures like in your house growing up?
Yeah, I suppose it only occurred to me like much later in my life when I kind of, met other families that I suppose weren't mixed, that, I realized how very lucky and like fortunate that I have two parents who are from like completely different places, completely different cultures and completely different religions. And somewhere in the middle, there's just like great love. So like, I mean, we kind of grew up, me and my brother, like fasting for Ramadan, but then we would celebrate Christmas because Christmas was always like like my mom, who was probably brought up Catholic in Catholic Ireland, who doesn't really have time for religion, to be honest, which is gas. But Christmas was a cultural thing that like we always did. Like we did it when we lived in the Middle East as well, and then we did it when we lived in North Africa and Morocco. Like we've always done Christmas, so I kind of had like a mixture of things that our household would celebrate that I realized, you know, a lot of my Muslim Moroccan friends didn't celebrate Christmas. Like we got Christmas holidays because we went to the American school, but they necessarily didn't do Christmas. It was just something that they did because they went to the American school. Whereas like we had a lot of stuff that was Western culture mixed in with like, I suppose, our Arabicness and our, lax Muslim kind of upbringing, very liberal, but definitely a lot of culture there. And I don't know, it just kind of works in my house. I suppose there's great love. I suppose where there's love, anything can actually work. Like definitely conversations around our dinner table are, it's just normal. Everybody's debating with each other, everybody's shouting at each other. And like that's kind of the household I come from, where like I'm not even shouting, just like very passionate points of view. Like my mom wouldn't really have much space for anything religion, and my dad would be quite a spiritual man who does believe and does pray, and Islam is important to him, but it was never like forced on me and my brother. It was always like through culture we got to know things. um but yeah, I don't know, did I answer that question?
You did. No, you answered it really, really well, actually. And with all this culture that you've grown up with, I mean, music isn't your only love, because you work with film and editing and stuff like that as well. And tell us a little bit about that world, if you want to just
And
give us
want to
an
go into it. Well, Nessy, I want it all basically. I want to be like, I'm fully committed to artistic industries that are extremely unreliable. Do you know what I mean? To
But
kind
do you
of,
know, yeah, do you know what? I
yeah.
have I have been lucky enough to meet one of my heroes. And I
Okay.
met one of my heroes in a train station because I was just wasting some time before I had to go to a meeting. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I happened to meet Baz Luhrmann in St. Pancras one day when he was on the way from Paris to London. And now that I think of it, I think it was actually Austin that was in Elvis that was with him. I just
No
didn't know
way.
at the time.
Gas.
But but if Baz Luhrmann can do everything, anybody can.
Yeah, then why can't you? Why can't you like film and do music? And like in my head, like they've always overlapped. Like I was a young, like we used to live in Australia as well before Morocco, and in Australia their kind of main MTV station is called Rage. And like I'd wake up really early on Saturday morning to like sneak up and watch Rage, which was basically all the MTV music videos. So I was like obsessed with looking at music videos and like songs to music. Do you know what I mean? So I started dabbling. Like I was very lucky that like I did film and broadcasting in Dublin, and I was lucky to just get a job after college, like through work experience and just kind of rooting around for a job. So I love the film world, and like I will always be in the film world. I'm just acquiring the many skills that I need to hopefully,
In life.
in life. No, the many skills I need in the film world to basically do all the things I want to do. So I had like I do experiment, like I do direct. So I that is the dream, that in the film world I will finally once I'm kind of finished, getting jobs, I will just kind of maybe break away and start, directing and writing and the stuff that I'm kind of like I started sorry, I don't know if this makes sense, but just in terms of writing, like I was always kind of writing stories or poetry, like really big into poetry. And then that kind of just
Well, poetry,
materialized.
yeah, that kind of changes as you get older
Yeah.
and learn how to play an instrument. That kind of
Like
turns
your
into
poetry
songwriting.
ends up being song lyrics. So that's kind of how I got into like lyrics, because I was always obsessed with like listening to a song and being like, oh, that's really clever. Oh, that's so deep. And so that's like definitely when I was younger and writing poetry, it just kind of turned into songs. And it's easy to write a poem or a song because literally it's a page. You know, writing scripts or writing stories is a lot more commitment. So I kind of have to do that. Or I make my music videos. But once I get my head fully together, I will get a script that I've written made. But until then, I will probably be like working on the film sets in various capacities. Like I was an assistant director for 5 years. So like learned lots about directing, learned lots about like logistics and production, you know, through teams and through really amazing people in Ireland. Actually, I do think that the crews in Ireland are one of the best. They're great in England as well, and they're great in other places, but I really do think that because the struggle is real in Ireland, we're all just like super top notch. But I don't know where I'm going with this. I think I seem to have lost my train of thought. But basically, yeah, I do think they're all connected. Do you know what I mean? Music, film, visuals. Now you can't really release a song without making a music video because now everybody wants to see visuals because we have like, you know, 15-second memories thanks to the internet. And but like I was doing that before Instagram was Instagram because I was just like, oh my God, and then we'll have this story come out here and there'll be an amazing location and it will like I've always just thought of visuals through words, through music. So I feel like I will just be getting more better at it, please God.
And I think if you can, like, if you have the talent that you can actually, sometimes I think that if I'm looking at a music video, I don't want it to be literal.
Yeah, yeah, I
And
do get what you mean.
if you have, if you can bring something else to that music, but
Hmm.
not go, oh, she was walking down the road on a sunny morn and there's somebody
Yeah.
walking down the road on a sunny morn. If you can bring something more, and it gives the music and it gives the film
Hmm.
extra layers,
Yeah,
extra impact.
sometimes the biggest impact films that you will often see is where they actually said very little or where they didn't show you the major climactic moment. You just saw snippets or people's reactions or that kind of stuff. And like definitely like making good films is an art. I am actually like really grateful for my film world because I have worked on, you know, some of the big I've just gotten to be right next to the action and I've gotten to see directors direct, and like that is magic. Like sometimes you kind of get just overwhelmed with the job and what you have to do for the shooting of the film because you know when you're shooting a film it's like nearly 150 people a day just to shoot a few, you know, scenes. So but I'd say one of, maybe you'll like this, but one of my highlights actually was working on Dune and seeing Denis Villeneuve direct in Jordan because he is a nice dude. Like I wasn't with them in Budapest when they started off, but I came to join them in Jordan when they went for that leg of the shooting. And he passed me anyway, and he was like, I don't think we have presented ourselves to each other, which is actually like a direct translation from French, as in like introduced ourselves. And I was like, oh hi, I'm Róisín, and I was standing there with my camera, and he's like, oh, I'm Denis, lovely to meet you. And like just a very nice human and an absolute artist. Like watching him direct the actors in June, the scenes, like you did feel like you were part of something wow. And a lot of it comes from the top down. Do you know what I mean? If so, I suppose like I've been lucky to work on sets like that where I get to like see it, you know? So it would be terrible then if my films weren't good.
That saying that you've worked on that, like I was in the movie theater last week, and there was a lot of stuff that before COVID, I had a subscription, used to go once, twice, maybe more a week. And then COVID happened, and me with my dodgy immune system, thank you very much, dodgy immune system, retreated from the world for a while.
Mhm.
But now that everything seems to be relatively okay, and we're back out there. And one of the things actually that blew me away the last week when I was at a film was actually see Dune and the part two trailer, and it was like, wow, on the big screen, that looks just immense.
Mega. Yeah.
It
Epic.
looks just, yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
epic can be overused, but I don't. It
It is
looked
epic.
amazing.
Yeah.
It looked
Yeah.
absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Like he's done a great job with any material he shoots. Like all his films, if you go through them, are just like epic pieces of art. Do you know what I mean? Like the story's good, the shots are good, the performances are good. Like you actually, I don't know, it was definitely amazing to be there and to see it. Like I didn't actually read the Dune book, so I wasn't really like a cult follower or knew much about the story. I just kind of saw from like what we were shooting, and I was like, this is going to be great. Like I'm so happy to be here.
But listen, your music, Daylight, is out now. Your brand
Mhm.
new single. Um, where's your music going next? Because you've released what? You've released two singles this year, was it?
Yeah, I released Love Again in February, and with a concept art music film basically, which I was quite proud of, and like it had a nice story about like grief and the cycle of life. And that was in February. And then Daylight, there it was just recently. Like they're all part of an album of like unreleased songs that I've been working on for like the bulk of 2 to 3 years. So a lot of them are connected, but a lot of them, they're not all made by the same producer. So I've got like 3 songs or 2 songs I've made with Yassine. Um, another like good bulk of songs made with another producer called Shane, who's amazing. So yeah, I'm just kind of shoot out singles as I kind of hopefully see fit. Um, and then, but with the bulk, it is like 11 to 10 songs of stuff that I'm dying to get out there. Yeah. Like, yeah. So the time is now for music.
When do you think that you're going to get that album out there? Or it's probably going to be what, next summer by the time you get to there, is it?
Oh, you know, I was kind of like, I would love to say that I would be releasing the album in January, February, but unfortunately, like, unfortunately, like, oh, not to put a downer on things, but anytime I get a little bit low or depressed, I'm not really able to do any of that. And unfortunately, that happened like a bit this year. So like release Love Again, and the aim was to release the second single in like 2 months, and I kind of had a period where it just was like period of 4 months basically where
Mm.
nothing happened, and like it's no one's fault, but it is a lot of stop and starting, and there is like a reason for it, but it's just
Yeah, I think you have to do everything on your own pace. It's great saying, oh, we're artistic, we'll go and we'll get everything out there and it's going to be
yeah.
take over the world. But at the end of the day, we have to look after our mental health. And
Mm,
like we have to be honest to ourselves that we're doing this for ourselves, and why we got into all these things in the first place. We got into them because they're an outlet for us. And if other people love it, that's brilliant.
yeah.
But I was going somewhere else with this now as well. And if it's a case, yes, if it's a case that you're promoting music and you have to talk about yourself, you have to be in the
Yeah,
right mindset to
you have
talk
to be
about
so
yourself.
strong, exactly. And it if you're feeling low or not well, talking about yourself, like you just can't do it. You can't even sit in a room and like with other people and be engaging, because you're not there. Like you're kind of, some days are great, but some days you're just trying to get through the day and like not. Yeah, sorry, I get embarrassed a little bit because
No need
it's
to get
just a question that is popped up a bit. It's, you know, because I will come on and I'll try and release stuff, and then, you know, something will happen or something will trigger me, and then I just kind of fall back into trying to just not exist really. And so I'm really like, and singing does make me very happy. Like my songs, you know, before I thought that I would ever be a singer or that I had a good voice, um, I was writing poetry for myself. You know what I mean? Because school is tough. Teenagers are mean.
Well, tell me
Um,
about it. I used to have a big
like,
folder of stuff.
yeah, just like I kind of needed my poetry, and like even my songs, like most of my songs, you know, like I remember singing a song one time that I'd written and someone was like, "Oh, who's that about?" And I was like, it's actually not about anyone in particular. It's just about me and the feelings that I have felt due to, like, you know it. And like I did find great comfort and great solace in writing dark material that almost made me feel happier. I know that's like, you know, now like in today's world, we can talk about like mental health. We can talk about, you know, it's okay to not feel okay and always be kind and all that shite. But like
10 years ago, it wasn't.
10 years ago, if you had a song that was talking, that was a bit too dark, it was like a bit too dark, isn't it? Oh, a bit grim. Oh, no, it's not very happy. Like you, like, you know, so I was definitely like kind of embarrassed of my poetry and my songs because it wasn't everything is roses. It was really, I mean, I didn't find it painful. For me, it was like I had done something that my pain had meaning now because it was to words, or it was to beauty, it was to a song. Like I got amazing release from it. But when I was releasing music in the beginning, like even in 2016, it wasn't cool to not feel okay or to have these like lyrics that were like, oh, I don't know, bit depressing, isn't it? And it's like now you go onto the internet and everybody's talking about their own form of depression and like feeling low and like, you know, protect yourself and all that kind of stuff. And that's great. But like, what's wrong with the darkness? Like, I got amazing I got amazing self therapy from my darkness. You know, I actually got my lightness from letting the dark out, you know. So I'm not ashamed of it. And I won't be. And I'll be writing more dark things.
No, why would you be? Why would you be? There's absolutely no way. And you've explained it really, really well. Because there's always, like, I remember growing up, let's say you brought me back there to like my hometown and my school, and I hated it. I absolutely hated it.
Mm.
And at the time, people would have been into The Cure and the Smiths, and it was like, oh, do you really like them? Oh, you're depressed, are you?
Yeah.
And it's like, but if you listen to some of the lyrics from some of these bands, yeah, they might have been like feeling down, but I mean, lyrics have such a way of connecting
Power.
with people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you can express those feelings that you're having, they're going to connect with someone else, and they're not only going to help you as you're writing them and as
Mm.
you're singing them, but they're also going to help somebody else along the way as well.
Yeah, and like I love that sort of music. So do you know what I mean? Like that's kind of where, like, I actually think a lot of happy songs are a waste of time. So I was super surprised that me and Yassine made a happy song because in my head I was like, I'm never going to be able to write a happy song. But turns out you can. You could just still have your lyrics that are dark, but to beats now. So there is a way for everybody to win.
Listen, it's been absolutely. I'm so happy that I managed to catch up with you today.
Thank
It
you.
has been a pleasure chatting to you. If people want to find out more about you and your music and your work, where is the best place for them to go and find out where you are?
Oh, I'm all over the internet like an internet queen. I'm on the Spotify, which would be great for anybody. That's where the bulk of the music is, and there will be more coming. And YouTube, you can knock yourself out with all my dark music videos. And Instagram, I suppose, is kind of the main one I use to talk to people because I know how it works. All the other ones I find very difficult to understand. But anyway,
Well, to be honest, there's about 100 of them every week now, so it's like,
yeah, I just can't keep up. I'm
no,
just like,
no,
oh my God, overwhelming.
like just pick one and we'll stick with that.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah. Listen, thank you so much for joining me today, and best of luck. We'll catch up for a coffee soon, and
I'd love that.
that'd be really cool. Thanks a mil for your
Thank you,
time.
Nessy. Thank you so much. Take care.